But that can't happen overnight, because the people who aren't getting the food or the medicine, they're the ones who are going to suffer. You don't see why people find this incredibly cruel?
You said earlier that we're treating it as if it's an overweight person, putting them on a crash diet. Oh no. The federal government is essentially somebody who's 800 pounds. And you cannot survive like this. So yes, there are some drastic measures that have to be taken, and I will add this to you. If you think it's bad now, if we get into a real debt crisis, it will be significantly worse for the American people and other people that we might help around the globe. The best thing to do right now, get in quick. You're gonna have to shut some things down, triage the area, rebuild the stuff that is good, that we all can agree with. The other stuff that's hyper-political or makes no sense or fraudulent.
What about the Department of Education? Now, I don't know that much about it, but I've never read good things.
Yeah.
Rahm Emanuel, who I agree with almost everything, here was a quote. He said, "A third of 8th graders can't read, and now he wants to close the department?" Separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Because again, we haven't reinvented Homo sapiens since Crystal Pepsi came out. I've spent 3 decades on TV mocking Republicans who said climate change was just a theory, and now I got to deal with people who say, you know what else is just a theory?
Bill Maher just did the unthinkable. He defended Donald Trump, and the crowd went wild. But hold on, wasn't he the same guy who mocked Trump for years? What changed? Why is Maher suddenly turning on CNN and calling out Democrats on issues like education, immigration, and gender in sports? And most importantly, what exactly did he say that got the audience roaring? Stay tuned, because this is not the Bill Maher you're used to seeing. Bill Maher is at it again, shaking things up in a way no one saw coming. The outspoken comedian and HBO host, known for calling out both sides of the political spectrum, has just made a move that's turning head cheese defending Donald Trump. Yeah, you heard that right. The same guy who spent years roasting Trump is now taking a stand in his favor, and let's just say it's got people fired up. Whether you love him or hate him, Maher's latest take is sparking major debate, and the crowd's reaction says it all.
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you are not responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? An $850 billion budget to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went, like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for. But I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps. Like, to me, that's fucking.
And yes, we're talking about the same Bill Maher who's taken countless jabs at Trump over the years. Hard to believe, right? But this time, he's not holding back on calling out both sides of the political spectrum. Maher has never been one to shy away from controversy, but this latest move proves he's willing to challenge anyone left or right if he thinks they deserve it.
With communists, that human was no longer selfish. In America today, that human is no longer born male or female. And obesity is not something that affects health. You can be healthy at any size. Really, we voted on it. A formerly serious magazine last year published with a straight face an article called "Separating Sports by Sex Doesn't Make Sense." Yes, it does. Because again, we haven't reinvented Homo sapiens since Crystal Pepsi came out. I've spent 3 decades on TV mocking Republicans who said climate change was just a theory, and now I got to deal with people who say, you know what else is just a theory?
In today's charged political landscape, Maher's latest take is causing quite a stir. He's tackling some of the most divisive issues: education, immigration, and gender in sports, and the reaction has been explosive. Some people are backing him up, while others are absolutely furious. So what exactly did he say? Let's break it down. Maher recently took center stage to share his unfiltered thoughts on these major societal debates, and as always, he didn't sugarcoat a thing. One of the biggest topics he went after? The state of education in America. For years, the education system has been treated as this untouchable institution, but Maher is calling foul. He's looking at the numbers, the results, and saying something just isn't adding up. And he's not just making empty claims, he's backing it up with hard facts. Maher isn't just throwing out opinion, she's pointing to some pretty alarming statistics. One major red flag? A recent report shows that nearly a third of 8th graders in the US are struggling to read at their grade level. That's not just concern, it's a crisis. And Maher isn't shy about asking the tough question. How is this happening when billions of dollars are being pumped into the education system every year? From his perspective, the Department of Education looks less like a solution and more like a black hole swallowing up taxpayer money without real result. And just when you think things couldn't get more controversial, Maher shifts gears to another heated topic: immigration. This is where the debate really explodes. California lawmakers have made a bold move approving government assistance for undocumented immigrants to buy homes. Yep, you heard that right. While many see this as an act of compassion, Maher is raising a skeptical eyebrow, questioning whether this is really the direction the Democratic Party once stood for.
California lawmakers just passed a law giving government assistance to undocumented immigrants to buy houses. That's kind of a different place than the Democratic Party used to be on immigration, is it not?
Well, let me just say, immigration had always been a bipartisan issue. I refer you to
But not free houses.
Well, that's not free housing. It's the American dream being available to more people. California is always in the lead. Maybe others will follow that lead, but that's up to those states.
So you'd vote for this law?
I'm not familiar with exactly what it is, but making the American dream of home ownership available to all people is something we have to do for people who are here now.
This is for the undocumented.
Pretty surprising, right? Now, don't get me wrong, California has always been a trendsetter, pushing policies that often ripple across the country. But Maher is taking a step back and asking, is this really in line with what the Democratic Party used to stand for? For decades, immigration was a bipartisan issue, with both sides agreeing on certain fundamental principles. But now, Maher is questioning whether the boundaries are shifting too far. He's not saying we shouldn't help people, he's just pointing out the contradiction. If the American dream is about opportunity, shouldn't it be prioritized for American citizens first?
President Trump this week just did an executive order saying that boys can no longer play in girls' sports. That's it. That's it. Ladies, isn't it ironic that the biggest protector of women turned out to be the pussy grabber? Huh? Maybe the guy who grabs it knows how to protect it the best. Think about that. Think about that.
And then, there's another hot button issue that's sparking major debate agenda in sports. Trump recently signed an executive order preventing boys from competing in girls' sports, a move that immediately divided the nation. Some applauded it, others were outraged. But Maher, he's not just taking a side, he's doing what he does best, cutting through the noise with sharp humor and brutal honesty. Instead of blindly defending one argument, he's exposing the irony of it all.
His administration, his next one, schools will teach students to love their country, not to hate their country like they're taught now. I gotta say, this one doesn't bother me so much. Because I think that, this is what I see when I see kids demonstrating, these progressives demonstrating for Hamas, the most illiberal people in the world, that, oh good, we're going to give America its comeuppance, asshole America. They kind of have been indoctrinated this way. And Chuck Schumer made a speech this week. He said anti-Semitism is a 5-alarm fire that must be extinguished. This is the highest ranking Jewish politician we've ever had in this country. He talked about when Jewish people hear chants like from the river to the sea. You understand that means wipe us out by any means necessary. Vulnerabilities in the party, James. The Democrats.
Maher is peeling back the layers of irony here. Think about it, Trump, a man with a long history of scandals involving women, is now being hailed as their protector. The contradiction is almost too much. But that's what makes Maher so compelling. He doesn't just mock, he makes you think. And it doesn't stop there. Maher has been firing shots at progressives, calling out what he sees as a growing trend of indoctrination in today's youth. He's connecting the dots between young people's controversial support for Hamas and a broader shift toward anti-American sentiment. His argument? Schools should be fostering patriotism, not resentment toward the country. In classic Maher fashion, he even took a moment to highlight Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's recent warnings about rising anti-Semitism. Schumer's concerns about the hostile rhetoric and its dangerous implications struck a chord with Maher, who is amplifying that message in his own way. Watching all of this unfold is honestly a bit nerve-wracking. Maher is standing firm, refusing to back down, and whether you agree with him or not, he's undeniably shaping the conversation. And let's be real, this internal frustration within the Democratic ranks is something we've seen time and time again. It's almost like they get tangled in their own contradictions, making it hard to take a clear stance on major issues. And Maher? He's cutting through all the noise with brutal honesty, something that both infuriates and intrigues people across the political spectrum. His delivery is sharp, unapologetic, and, let's face it, kind of refreshing. Whether you love him or hate him, you can't deny he's making people think. So what's your take on all of this? Are you shocked by Maher's blunt approach? Or do you think he's onto something? Does his take on education, immigration, and free speech make sense? Or is he just stirring the pot? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss out on more eye-opening discussions. Stay tuned for more.